Peace, guys. It's me, Arlene J. Ramsey, CEO and founder of Everyone Let's Talk, also your favorite self-wealth mentor. So today, I want to have this talk about Black men and how we're handling ourselves with police officers and Black women too. But this one is going to be for Black men in particular. A couple of days ago, I'm in Newark, New Jersey, by the way. I decided to go have some breakfast at a place called Margaritas, and I'm in there having my breakfast. It wasn't the healthiest: cheese, eggs, and pork bacon. Anyway, and coffee. I'm eating, and I didn't notice the police officer come in. I didn't realize a gentleman walked in, and all I hear is the gentleman talking, what did I do? Got an attitude with the police officer, rolling his eyes. I didn't do anything, and, things started to get out of hand. And I am not the type of person that's going to pick up a camera, take pictures, and record when it comes to situations like that. I am one to actually get involved, all right? That's just me. So you'll just never see, actually footage from me when it comes to things like that. So I'm eating my breakfast, I'm listening to things get out of hand, so I had to step in and push one of the other guys, like, listen, just back up a minute, because now we had the guy who's friends with the other guy closing themselves in on the police officer. And it was two police officers, by the way. Both of those police officers were Latinos. All right. And the brothers, of course, were African American, melanated, however you want to call us, men. All right. What they didn't realize, and I, for the life of me, I don't understand why we don't think about those things, is what they didn't realize is that situation could have blown out of hand, out of proportion, regardless of where they were at. And the fact that the other brother was getting closer to the other police officer, he didn't realize that he was posing a threat to the police officer, because now you're closing yourself in on the officer opposed to giving that officer some space, right? And then it was the words that he was saying. I forgot the verbiage, but he was questioning the police officer as well. So I say this to say that it seems as if many of our brothers or many of our men forgot how to be men. It's like you guys forgot the basic instinct of what a man truly is. You forgot the natural order of things and how things can become out of hand, how to de-escalate situations. You guys are not connected. Somehow, some way, you have gotten disconnected from the natural order of things and from your own basic instinct, intuition. All right, so this recording is to shed some light on that, so you can understand where it is that some of you guys are going wrong when you're handling yourselves with police officers, or even when you're handling yourselves with other brothers in the community. Some of the crime and some of the things that get blown out of proportion doesn't have to. It's just completely irrational. Now, I'm a woman, right? And from my perspective and from my experiences, there's no way in hell I am going to allow someone to close in on me. The moment that person is walking closer to me, that automatically signals to me that this person can now become a threat. The closer you get, the more you're going to invade my personal space. So I'm going to make it very clear that it's only but so far I am going to allow you to go. And I'm a woman. Men think that you're supposed to think in that very same way. So I say this to say, what makes any of you think that it's a good idea to walk closer in on a police officer, especially when you're questioning the officer in a way where it may agitate things and blow things out of proportion? It doesn't make sense. The other thing that you have to understand is once the police or law enforcement has made up their mind to single you out or to single someone else out, no amount of resistance is going to make them say, okay, you know what, you're right. I'm going to walk away and I'm going to let you walk scot-free. No amount of disrespect, no amount of resistance, no amount of irrationality is going to let them move the opposite direction. Actually, what it's going to cause them to do is feed more into that energy and give them more reason to antagonize you and to arrest you. And those are the things that we're not connected with. It doesn't make sense. The other thing is, so when I stepped in and I told the brother, I said, listen, you're going to have to calm down. I understand that you're upset and you just came in here to get some breakfast. I said, but that's not the way to do it. All right. We have to understand that law enforcement still has some level of authority that we have to respect. Whether you like it or not, respect it or not, or don't care for it or not, that's really your personal issue that you have to work out with self. However, they still have a certain level of authority given to them by law in order for them to uphold the law and do what they're supposed to do in an ethical way, which we know a lot of them are not ethical. However, I don't want us to focus that much on that. I want us to focus more on what we can do to make situations better for us. What we can do to make situations better for us. Needless to say, we all walked outside, and I walked out with, and mind you, I don't know this gentleman at all, nor do I know the police officers, but I walk outside too, right? Because I want to be clear of exactly what's going on. And as a citizen of Newark, New Jersey, and as a resident in Newark, New Jersey, I'm not going to just sit here and allow something to get out of control where we have another brother that's dead or mishandled in the wrong way by police officers, right? So if I can do something about it, I will. So I go outside as well. They wanted his ID. He didn't have an ID. All right. So they asked for his name. Then he gave the police officers his name. The other police officer go to the car, ran his information. Okay. Took a couple of minutes. They come back. He has a warrant with the county. All right. So now they say he has a warrant and they have to arrest him. Okay. I said, well, is there a way that you can show proof of the warrant? Because you just came to say he has a warrant. How does he know that this is true? So what the officer said is that they don't really, he can't show proof from the car. But when he checked on his information, it came back that he has a warrant, and he will get all of that hard copy and everything once he goes down to the station. Okay, so the next thing is, it brings me to this. Brothers, and this is for those of you who are living that other lifestyle. You have to understand that there's nothing positive in that lifestyle. If you can be out here selling drugs or opioids or weed or whatever it is that you're selling, you should know that there's other things that you can sell that won't put your livelihood in jeopardy. All right. The other thing is that it is the law enforcement's job to uphold the law. At some point, you're going to run into them when they see you outside in a particular area too often, too much. If it's every day, hours for the day, you're in the same spot, they know what you're doing. So no amount of attitude or resistance that you give them once they circle in on you is going to deter them from leaving you alone, right? So it brings me to saying this. The righteous attitude when it comes to police officers for certain lifestyles is not fitting, right? And it's irrational. Your anger is also irrational, and you cannot continue to blame everything on the system. You have to look at the choices that you are also making. There's other things that you can go and sell. If you have money to go and buy this type of thing to sell that, then you also have money where you can go and buy clothes, t-shirts, socks. It's something that people need. You can do that, and in that sense, you won't ever go to jail. Because now you're selling something, it's not illegal. You understand? So this brings me to talking about this to the next level here. When dealing with law enforcement, you have to ask yourself, what's the worst outcome and what's the best outcome? What's the worst outcome and what's the best outcome? And always condition yourself to working towards the best outcome. All right? One, that starts with just giving that police officer respect. Even though you had a rough day, Even though you're angry that they pulled you over, because sometimes they pull some of us, they pull us over, and we gave them no real reason to pull us over, but they do so anyway, just because you're black. Just because in their mind they know, trust me, law enforcement know that the black community is pressured in so many different ways. So 9 times out of 10, if they pull you over, they're going to find that something's not right with you and with your paperwork or something, and there's going to be a reason to give you a ticket, or it's going to be a reason for them to lock you up because something's not going to be right. So that's why they have the confidence to just profile black people even when you haven't done anything to be profiled, okay? And that, we're gonna have to chalk that to life, because there's a lot of fact in that. You could say, well, that's still not fair because you're but you know, it's not, they don't care about being fair towards you. And that's the thing that the black community is not understanding. And what I don't understand, why you don't understand it, is that this system that you say is against you, you knew the system was against you from day one. When our ancestors were brought over here from Africa and placed into slavery, the system was never for us. Even when slavery has been abolished, it appeared as it was abolished, but all they did was shifted directions. Right? Because they still needed a way to capitalize off of people that they intended to capitalize off of for the rest of this race's life. So they shifted direction. So it's no longer blatant slavery out in the community and in commerce. Now that's why they created the jail system, and this is why they have so many petty make petty little things a crime. So any little petty thing is something that you can get locked up for. It's something that you can pay a ticket for. It's something that they have the authority to hem you up for. So that is still slavery. And when you're in jail, you're working for what, $10, a dollar a day or something like that. So you're making shoes, you're making all types of things. And how much are you getting paid for it? And on top of that, you're spending it in a jail system. You're not spending it out in the commerce, having your freedom. So you're still within a system, spending money that they pay you on things that they decided to buy and bring for you. Now, if you had the freedom and you can go to the store, 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't even buy some of the things that you're buying in jail. But you're buying it because that's the only, how can I say, treat outside of regular jail food that you're going to get. Right? So pay attention to what's going on here. And a lot of you know what's going on, but you're still making yourselves victims of it. And you're still wanting a people that you know who don't care about you to care about you. It's not their job to care about you. Meanwhile, you take so much of your frustration, so much of your hatred and rage, and you have the best strategy to bring down your own kind. That baffles me. It baffles me to no end. Now, I understand where all of this is coming from, but how can you successfully take down another black person and be heartless with it? You're like Blade. You got out the sword and you chopping off necks and off with the head with your own kind, and you don't have that mentality with the people who is really bringing you down. This brings me to this. You're gonna have to get rid of the fear. Okay, in history and in common sense, anytime men are conquered, when I say men, I'm not talking about the human race, I'm talking about men. Men, the sex, man, the species, not human beings. Men. Anytime men are conquered by other men, the women and children who are connected or loyal to the men who were conquered are now left to be conquered and taken advantage of. I say this to say, if you keep handling yourself the way you're handling yourself and doing things in the way you're doing it and causing yourselves to be victims, the women and children who are directly loyal to you are now left to fend for self. They're now left to fend for self. And ultimately, in the long run, they too will be conquered and taken advantage of. And that's what you're not paying attention to. Hence, leaving your bloodline and your lineage soon will be extinct. And if not extinct, it's going to be weakened. It's going to be made out to be peasants and slaves because there will be no power in your bloodline. And all of this that you're doing, that's why when I look at what our black men are doing and how we're handling ourselves, that's why I can tell that there's a disconnect on how you think or what you think your purpose is ultimately, because you're not seeing the long run of your actions and how it's going to affect your lineage and your bloodline. You're not seeing that. And that is what's very disturbing to me. And this is not a racist thing. It's not. This is a thing of self-preservation. The first law of nature, self-preservation. Self-preservation is not short-term. It's not just for today or right now. It's also long-term. What does your preservation look like 30 years from now? Something for you to think about. I say all of this to say that it is time to leave that type of lifestyle alone. It is time that you learn how to handle yourselves in a better way and remove the ego, okay? Because the inflated ego is doing nothing for you. It doesn't help you logically handle situations, and it doesn't help you with a better strategy. If it did, I wouldn't even be saying that. And if it did, we would be seeing different results now, would we? There was somebody that was, I forgot what discussion there was on someone's YouTube channel. And there was a sister who said, her words went along the lines of saying that, let me see if I can find it. I was so annoyed when I read what she said. Hold on. I'll tell you guys in a minute. Let you know why. What I'm saying is very important. We really need to look at this idea of being the least protected. Black men cannot even protect themselves. How on earth can they protect us? Every move they make, the white man is on them. It's up to them to come up with a plan, but it seems that at this point in history they are folding in defeat. Everything they have tried to do has failed. Black Wall Street, civil rights movement, etc. They are currently in a state of defeat. It is what it is. I wish there was a podcast or video on psychology of defeat. By now, us African Americans should own our own states and territories, but we don't. That part, the last sentence that she said was a bit extreme, right? That we should own our own territories and states, but we don't. However, this is a black woman that is comfortable saying that we are at a state of defeat and that black men are at a state of defeat. And then it's like she removed herself out of the situation when she talked about the Black Wall Street and civil rights movement and everything. The Black Wall Street and civil rights movement did not only have black men in it, there were black women in it as well, right? But she's saying that the black man, from her perspective, is in a state of defeat. And she already removed herself out of the equation. I don't know where she thinks she's going to go, right? Where are you going to go? If the black men are extinct and they're at a state of defeat, then we are left to have to go and deal with men of different backgrounds. Now, I'm not saying that if you love someone from a different race and of a different background that you shouldn't be with that person. No, you should be with whoever you fall in love with or wherever love leads you. Yes. However, what I'm saying is that if you continue to do things in the direction that you are doing things, you're going to leave the black woman with no choice. We are going to have to fold to dealing with people from different backgrounds, even though we don't want to. It is something that we're going to have to do, right? Because we are put here on earth to be with other people. It's either that or we're going to spend the rest of our lives being single and alone. But check this out. Even for some of us who choose the latter, to spend the rest of our lives to be single and alone, who's to say that another man, let's just say the white man that you think is such a beast, or men from other backgrounds, who's to say that a man from another background or another culture is going to allow the majority of black women to say, well, we're going to spend the rest of our lives by ourselves and we're not going to have sex and make women. Who's to say that they're going to allow that to happen when they're physically stronger than the black woman? How many black women you think are going to get away with that? It wouldn't be before long before they say, who the fuck you think you are? And they revolt because they're physically stronger. And then there will be a lot of black women being raped. And then there will be a lot of children being born out of being raped from those very same situations. Because there will be less black men to protect their black women. Because you're doing a sucky job at protecting yourself. And I'm not even going to apologize for it. You're doing a sucky job. Because somewhere down the line, you forgot what it really means to be a fucking man. You forgot that. You forgot that when we're at a state of consistently being attacked, that you're going to have to revolt. And that means that the intent is to put you at extinction. And in order for you to stay here and survive, you're gonna have to fight back. However, the idea of you fighting back have to be from a rational thought. The idea has to come from, wait a minute, let's sit here and examine what it is that we're doing. Like, for instance, the same situation that I told you guys about. The reason why the police officer stopped the guy, was that he was jaywalking. They had a problem. They were like, well, we always jaywalk. Well, first of all, you're questioning the police officer because he decided to stop you because you jaywalked, right? I learned years ago that jaywalking was illegal. We grew up jaywalking. They just never enforced the law, right? And this is something that we have to think about. They chose not, so they can choose to enforce the law whenever they want to. It's really up to that particular police officer to do that, right? But when they enforce the law and they tell you why they're stopping you, that should not be something that you dismiss. We have to learn how not to dismiss things that they tell us is the law. And we have to learn to start saying, wow, you know what, I've been doing this and haven't even realized it. So now is there some way, like you have to learn how to find a different way to negotiate, especially when you done did something, even though you didn't realize you were breaking the law. But when they tell you that it's the law and that you broke the law and they're choosing to enforce that law, arguing and disrespecting the police officer is not going to change what law is. It's just not going to change it, right? So I say this time and time again, our way of dealing with this one-track mind way of dealing with things is not, it doesn't help us. It doesn't help us to see a different way. It doesn't help us to negotiate. It doesn't help us to lend the foundation of respect, balance, reciprocity. It doesn't do any of that. All it does is it causes more friction, and it feeds more of that animosity from people who you say who are against you. Now you aid in giving them more reason to be against you and to attack you. And then the lifestyle that you're choosing to lead, it's inevitable that you're going to end up in those situations. And this is what we're not getting. We have to start moving away from those types of lifestyles. There's no good in it, right? So we continue to have these arguments. We continue to have these fights. But when are you going to get it that it's just, this lifestyle is just not good for you? Do something else. Sell something else. That's it. And when you start to sell legal things and they still start to attack you, now you have a firmer ground to stand on and you have a firmer reason to fight back. Because now, what is your reason for stopping me? Because I'm not putting anybody at harm's way. Now this is all legal. All of my paperwork is legit. Everything is in order. What's the problem now? We have to get to the point of understanding and getting back to the natural orders of life, to principles, to what's important, to when people say certain things, how to respect that and not disrespect it just because we didn't know or because we don't want to accept it. Not wanting to accept something, those are things that children do. And we have to teach children when they're younger that I understand you don't want to accept it, and I understand that you want your way, but sweetie, these are still the rules. Okay? So when you get over your temper tantrum, figure out a way on how you're going to deal with this, because these are still the rules. And we cannot change these rules. We have to teach children that. And then you're a man and you're thinking it's okay to break certain rules. And then when you're approached or questioned upon it, you think it's okay to disrespect the law. And that's not okay. Do better. When you're making these decisions, think about how it's going to affect you in the long run, how it's going to affect the women, and how it's going to affect the children who are directly loyal to you. I'll leave you with that for now. Peace.